Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Return to Jesus podcast. For those of you that are returning, I am so glad that you are back. And for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time ever, welcome. I am so excited for my guest today. He is a dear friend. We are family friends. We met years and years ago, I guess when our daughters were in first grade.
Kindergarten, right? Or first grade. And they're in college right now. So yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, they were in first grade.
Why don't you age? I'm kind of mad at you all of a sudden. The same.
That's the nicest thing ever, Bob. I think the same of you. You also look the same. Yeah, we are frozen in time.
I have a lot less hair. You still have great hair.
It's real dirty right now, but that's okay. We're not going to talk about that. It tis the season for just, it's a busy time.
Well, you can't zoom in on your hair, so no one can tell this story. So you're good. You're good.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks. All right, we're just going to jump right in. I'm so excited for the conversation. Let me introduce Bob to all of you so you can just learn a bit more about him and all of his just wonderful accomplishments and all these great things he's going to bring to the table in our conversation. So Bob Stanton is an accomplished senior executive with a diverse background and proven track record in operations, IT, and metrics. With over 30 years of experience in the insurance industry and now as a leader in the food industry, Bob has demonstrated exceptional leadership, strategic vision, and operational excellence across multiple sectors. He is the current CEO of Nuss Partners, a holding company with a clear mission to reinvigorate interpersonal connections through the food industry. Nuss Partners focuses on empathy, integrity, and innovation while prioritizing people as its most valuable asset. Under Bob's leadership, Nuss Partners acquired its first business, Jones Meat and Locker, a historic meat processing company known for its high-quality products and deep community roots. As CEO of Jones Meat and Locker, Bob is overseeing the company's transformation, implementing operational improvements and strategic growth initiatives to ensure it thrives in a modern, competitive market. Previously, Bob was the Chief Operating Officer at Group 1001. Throughout his career, Bob has consistently demonstrated his ability to lead teams, transform businesses, and drive strategic growth, most recently expanding his leadership into food processing and retail with Nuss Partners and Jones Meat and Locker. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. It was really funny. I was just thinking a lot of people fell asleep because I have an exciting career.
You do have an exciting career. People did not fall asleep. I mean, their words here like food. I mean, who doesn't love food?
Well, we should get to that. We should get to that part. Did I tell you why I called the company? Did I tell you why I called the company Nuss Partners?
No, but I want to hear. Tell Bob while I sip up my coffee.
I think it'll be good for this broadcast. So Nuss is my mom's maiden name. And so after she passed, I wanted to honor her and what she stood for. And the two things that she always told us and taught us kids is she actually wrote this down in a note to my sister when she got married. She said, have I ever told you what's important in life? Both God and love. If you have those two, everything else will work out. So I wanted to honor her thoughts and her legacy by creating a company called Nuss Partners. And so it's based on her.
Oh my goodness, Bob, that's such a beautiful legacy. And your mom is such a wise woman. No truer words could be spoken. God and love. That's what it's all about.
Yep. Everything else will work out. That's what she said.
Yep. And
she had some great kids, so it worked out well for her.
She did. And it goes to show that you are really carrying on her words. The fact that you say in your bio here, prioritizing people as its most valuable asset. I feel like you don't hear that a lot. And that's like,
I think you hear it. You hear it in corporate slang when you go to big companies. They talk about people as your primary asset, but the way they operate is not that in a lot of ways. So when I left the corporate job and started this new adventure of entrepreneurship and Nuss Partners, I really wanted to live that. I like making sure communities know who we are, know who I am, know who our teams are, and then really just kind of put people first and see what they could do. Because when people feel like you have faith in them, a lot of times they step up. I think that's what Jesus does too. He puts faith in us as well as we put faith in him. And knowing that, I think we're going to talk about grace a little bit today, but
Yeah,
I think it has that ripple effect in all of our lives and how we operate. And so I've seen a very positive change in people by just doing those
absolutely.
simple things.
100%. Yeah,
Yep.
just believing in people, I think, and speaking that belief to them and seeing them and acknowledging gifts and talents, that
Yep.
goes really
I
far.
think I'm looking here. I see something that popped up says your internet connection is unstable. Is that you or is that me? It might be
Oh,
me.
I don't see that on mine, but you are a
Oh,
little
it must be
fuzzy.
me. I am fuzzy. Oh, it says it right there.
Um,
Now I'm back. Now it says I'm back. All right, we'll see
oh,
how it
you're
goes. We'll just
back.
keep
All
going.
right.
You
See,
know what? Oh,
this
now
is
I'm weak again. I
this.
could see it. That's interesting. So
No,
much for
Bob,
me being the
you
IT guy in my history.
Do you know what? It's like we talked about earlier. So before we started, Bob and I had a little conversation. And there's a real solid chance my kids are going to pop in here because
I hope
it's
so.
finals
That'll be
week.
fun.
It- It'll be fun, but that's real life. So real life is, kids popping in, disrupting a podcast, you going all fuzzy because the internet's not working.
I
We're just gonna
know.
keep going with it, Bob.
Or you get booted out of your office into your weight room because that's the only place in the house where I can work, and that's why my signal's weak. But that's okay. Well, we'll make this work as long as you can
We're
hear.
gonna
You don't really have to see
I
me.
I can hear you. I can hear you. So I think that's what matters. All right, let's do this, Bob. Like you said, we are going to talk about grace. We're going to talk about faith, things I know that are very important to both of us. And then we are going to talk about your journey as an entrepreneur and the things that you've learned and what you're experiencing. And I'm just real excited to dig in. So let's start off with the faith component. For those of you who are listening for the first time, the way this podcast works, the first portion of the podcast is going to focus on questions that are faith related. We're going to talk about spiritual rhythms and practices. Hopefully we can all, learn and pick up on some new practices that we can incorporate into our lives because faith isn't just about going to church on Sunday. It's about a walk with Jesus, and that relationship looks different for all of us. And this season, like Bob said, we are talking about grace. And I just
Love
love
it.
talking about grace. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so Bob, my first question always for every guest is when you hear the words return to Jesus, what do those words mean to you? And
You know
what
what's
does that look like?
interesting? So what's interesting about that is I was just listening to you talk and talking about the first half of this and the rhythm of faith. I think that word rhythm is critical. What's rhythm, right? It's peaks and valleys, right? And it's music and sound waves and everything. Even us talking right now, there's a rhythm to it. There's a cadence to it. And so it's not
Mhm.
like you walk around and you're constantly going, I love Jesus. Like like all of a sudden you're busy. Your kids are going to walk in and they're going to be hungry and you're going to have to slap them around. And it's good, like there's a rhythm and then there's a cadence to it, right? And I think returning to Jesus is interesting because it's really about the center. So as life kind of goes through our rhythm, our ups and our downs and our goods and our bads, and it's the balance of life. That's just how it is. But the center of all of those hills and valleys is Jesus, is
Mhm.
our faith and how we believe and how we work. So really, to me, returning to Jesus is always getting back to that center. That center kind of grounds you. That center keeps you rested, actually. We'll talk about what I think that means a little bit later. But that's what I believe returning to Jesus is returning to center, to the
Yeah,
ups and the downs.
I love that because you're so right. Like you said, like we're busy. We have our own things going on, running from here to there, trying to juggle all the things. But if we can find a way just to connect throughout the day,
Yeah,
it's just very grounding.
it is. And it's not like we have to wear the t-shirt and say, I'm a Jesus lover, even though I love those shirts. That's great. It's really about like we're built to do what we do. You're built to write. That's your gift, and I
Yeah.
love it. And you're very talented at that. And I'm so proud of you for doing this podcast. And so,
Oh,
because
thanks,
that's your
Bob.
gifts. But there's things that take you away from your gifts too.
Hmm.
And but at the center of all of this is what's you're grounded in. And so that's what returning to Jesus is. It's not like you went away and say, you know what, all of a sudden I don't like Jesus anymore. Now I'm going to return to Jesus. It's really about just having that moments of the ups and the downs and finding the center to find that calm and that peace.
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. It's not that the return means that you've necessarily stepped away or said,
Yeah.
I don't want to take part in the faith anymore. It's just, like you said, the rhythm, the cadence, the
Yeah.
habit, the small prayers that are said throughout the day. It's also just like even looking outside and being like, wow, this is his creation, and just taking a moment to be like, thank you, Lord, for your creation. It's these simple things that we do throughout the day that really aren't so simple. They're profound because, like you said, they take us back to our center and our core.
Mm-hmm. Getting centered is important. I relate that to working out.
Oh
Ironically,
yeah.
I'm in my gym, right? So when you work out, do you work out 8 hours a day with no rest and then do it again the next day? The answer is no. You work out, you
That'd be
eat.
exhausting. Ugh.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. And I even like working out, and that sounds terrible. But you have to rest, and you have to rest it in order for you to grow. If you don't rest, you're not growing. And so I think that's true with this is Jesus is our rest, right? And so that's where we grow is in that component of it.
Amen, Bob. I love it. I love it. So, what are some of the spiritual practices and habits that you have incorporated in your life in your current season? What is working for you now?
It's interesting because it does change. I like the word season, and it's not about the Christmas season, even though this is a magical time of year and it's really
It
fun. And I'm
is.
surprised I'm not wearing a Santa hat right now. That would have been fun. I should have just wore a whole Santa outfit.
Oh, stop.
I'm
You
so
know what?
disappointed in myself. I was like, I'm going to wear a shirt to look professional, but no, I should have
You
done a
need
Santa outfit.
take a picture of you in the Santa outfit, and then we'll put a little like in the bio, like that's the picture I'll
Okay,
use.
all right. I do have a Santa picture of me, so maybe I'll just send it to you.
Okay, that sounds
Anyway,
great.
back to your question. What am I doing right now, to kind of live
Yeah.
this? So I love that you said looking outside sometimes. My favorite thing is in the mornings when I'm home. Right now, I've been traveling more, and so it's harder to do that. And so I keep myself very busy there. But when I'm home, I like before people are up, get my coffee, looking at outside, whether it's dark. For some reason, when it's dark is really pretty cool too. Uh,
I
and then
agree.
instead of just flipping a Bible, I'm a nerd, right? So I'll pop open my computer, and if whatever I'm feeling, I just let the feeling go. It's like, am I feeling anxious about something? Am I excited about something? Am I worried about something? Am I thankful about something? Do I need strength? Do I need courage? Whatever. There's so many things that we feel as people, and it's all feeling based. Then I start looking at 10 different Old Testament readings and 10 different New Testament readings that rely to the thing that I'm looking for. And I'll read through each one of those. And if one of those resonate with me or two of them, then I'll do a deep down dive, like with my computer, understanding the content of how it was written, what it meant, and then sitting there thinking, drinking my coffee, how this relates to me in my life. And if I like it, then I'll actually write it down and send it to my family so they can have some lessons learned as well. So writing that result helps me in my life, and I think it hopefully helps my family. So that's the way that I've been doing it lately, actually.
Oh my goodness, Bob, I love that. That is a deep dive into the scripture. I think that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I think our world is very ups and down, right? And if church works for you, go to church. And then we need to go to church way more than we do, but that's still a whole different issue. But like finding Jesus, returning to Jesus could be anywhere because he's everywhere. And so
Mhm.
that's my way of doing it right now. That's
Yeah.
my season right now.
Well, and what a gift that you then take the things that the Lord speaks to you in that time. And I agree with what you said. There's something about like when it's dark out that's just really
Oh,
it's so peaceful. It's just
it's peaceful. Yeah.
it's peaceful. But the fact that then you take the word that he's given you and you share it with your family, that is such a gift that you're giving them on so many levels. One, just to know, hey, I'm thinking of you and I love you. And then two, that you're sharing your faith in the way that it's touched you. I would imagine that even if the kids don't realize it now, you're planting so many seeds
I
in
hope
their
so.
life.
I hope it's little mustard seeds in their life that will grow, and they'll learn something from it, and then they'll have to do their own experiences. But I hope it helps. I sent it to my father as well because my mom, she passed away about a year, 3 or 4 months ago, and I started doing that because I was hurting, and I know they were hurting, and so I thought, well, if I can
Yeah.
find some useful stuff that we could relate it to our lives, and so I would translate to like how we can do it and how we can operationalize this and how we can think and behave, then maybe it could help them as well. So I would send it on to my father and my sister, and then of course my kids and wife. So I kind of kept doing that throughout the year.
Oh, goodness, Bob, your mom is such a wonderful, beautiful, special woman, and you're honoring her life in so many ways. I mean, it's
She was
really
pretty special.
cool.
She was awesome. Yeah, she was. I mean, yeah. What is it? I'm a mama boy. There you go. I had to think of the word for a
Yeah,
second. I suppose
mama's
I am, but
boy.
you know what? but I'll be her boy. She was awesome, so she was good.
Mm, that's so sweet. Well, you talked about the really cool practice that you have incorporated in this season now. Is there anything that you've had to let go? Anything that worked for you previously that just isn't working now for you anymore?
Um, no, I evolve, right? Like, I
Yeah.
would say I do this. I've done this more since my mom's passing than I did prior to that, and so that's been very positive. I think I've always been a student, so I've always kind of liked to read like different scriptures and understand how that works, and then I kind of relate that to people, and I like philosophies, and so I try to relate that to other people's philosophies because I think a lot of us have a lot of common values regardless of
Hmm.
what their denomination is or whatnot. And so I've always been very interested in what people feel and believe. And so I probably have dug more into scripture. Like I said, like I like pulling up 10 Old Testament, 10 New Testaments and kind of see what works and what doesn't. I haven't done that before. I've always kind of dug into one and kind of done a deep dive. But this is what's nice about technology is you can really pull things up pretty quickly and give you some insight. And then you just start drilling down into it. And so I take my iPad and start going to town. It's great.
Oh my goodness. I love it. That's very inspirational. It makes me want to take more time, just take the time to do that. That's fantastic. Okay, so Bob, one more faith based question. What does grace mean to you, Bob? If you hear the word grace, what do you think?
So what I like about it, this is what I think about it. We know what we're taught biblically, that God's grace forgives us through belief in him. But I look at it also from a day-to-day operations, how we live our lives. Like we're chaotic. It's busy. We're going to make bad decisions. Our spouses, our family, our friends, they're going to make bad decisions. But knowing that there's so much behind each one of their lives that by just giving them the kindness, if you will, grace and kindness
Hmm.
to make those mistakes and knowing that they're good people. They don't mean to make mistakes. I don't mean to make mistakes. I probably made 17 of them this morning already, but but based on where we are in our life, we should give ourselves grace or kindness, and we should do the same to our family and loved ones because we got to believe they're good people. And so that's what grace really means to me on a day-to-day basis. But that all came from an example of what God and Jesus has done for us. So we can return exactly how they do it to us. We should return that to people. So I believe in a big pushing it forward. So if Jesus taught us a lesson, then we should be Christ-like in how our actions are. And so that's what grace is for me.
Yeah, I love that because I think when, like you said, you think about all the ways that we receive grace ourselves, I think it becomes more of like this flow. You just realize, okay, I'm receiving grace. I need grace. People in my life need grace. And,
Oh
just
yeah.
all the things that I've been forgiven for. Who am I not to offer that grace to other
Yeah.
people?
Who
It just,
who are you? Right.
it,
Right.
yeah. And
Agreed.
I feel like it's a lot more work and it's just so tarnishing on the heart to just hold on to
Yeah.
just anger, resentment, bitterness, to not live a grace filled life. I think it would just
Yeah.
be hard.
You know who's really good at it? You.
Who?
You.
Oh, Bob, that's so sweet of you to
No.
say. Well, so are you. I think you
Well,
are
I think for
too.
your users or users, not users, for your listeners, let's start with that. Unless this is a drug deal, which I don't think it is. So I think we're back
Ah,
to the
no, Bob.
podcast.
Nope,
For,
not this podcast. Nope.
Is that the wrong one? Is that the one afterward where I have better
wrong,
Wi-Fi?
wrong podcast,
No,
Bob.
wrong. My bad. That's the next call. My bad. So for your listeners, there we go. People that don't
There we
know
go.
you, that only know you through your writing or know you through your books, soon to be books, or through all these podcasts, what they don't know about you is that everything that they read, everything that they hear, everything that they want to believe about Jen is Jen. Like she is authentic as you could be, and my wife and I talk about how we all want to be more like Jen as human beings. So Jen is a very good indication of what grace would be like because we are wretched sinners and
Oh,
Jen loves us for all of our flaws. So I just want to share that with your listeners. It's a true statement.
this is the sweetest thing. Thank you, Bob. I'm
So
just
my
going to
goal
tuck
today
that
is to make
away
Jen
in my
cry.
heart. And
You should tuck it.
you came
Don't tuck
close.
it too
Stop that,
deep. It
Bob.
won't come back.
Stop that.
I'm sorry. Want me to stop it? Okay. I'll stop talking about
You
you.
did almost make me cry. It was so sweet. Thank you. All right, Bob.
Well, it's
Now we're going
true.
to talk about, because you just were so kind to me. And now I want people to hear more about how incredible you are and these beautiful, wonderful things that you're bringing into the world. Excited to share with you that I have written a book titled Return to Jesus, an invitation to abide with him in every beautiful, stressful, or tedious moment. It is a dream come true, and I could not be more thrilled to share with you that this book is available online at stores such as Target, Walmart, Amazon, Christian Books, and more. The book will be available on April 15th, 2025 to purchase in store as well. And I just really appreciate your support. It means the world to me. I could not do this without you. And I'm just so very grateful. So be sure to grab your copy today. Again, it's Return to Jesus, an invitation to abide with him in every beautiful, stressful, or tedious moment. So you are an entrepreneur, and I love your in your passion. Like, you are truly one of the most enthusiastic people I have ever met in my life, and you just have this joy and this excitement, and you don't just talk about things, you do them. And I think there's nothing wrong with talking about things. There's nothing wrong with having ideas. It's great to do that. Like, we want to have ideas, but you are the person that has an idea and then you say, no, I'm going to make this happen. Like, I am going to bring this dream of mine into reality. And that is what you were doing. And you have taken a huge leap of faith. I mean, leaving corporate America, where a lot of us, there's nothing wrong with this, but find security, right? Like, there's this security in kind of going with the status quo. Again, nothing wrong with that, but you have just said, no, like, I'm going to try this. And just the amount of faith that it requires to do that from you and your family. I mean, and all the people that are
Oh,
supporting
yeah.
you. And I love watching your dreams unfold. I feel like it's very encouraging. So, can you tell us a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur and what inspired you to begin this next chapter of Nuss Partners?
So 30 plus years in the corporate world, maybe 31 years, which I really hate saying these numbers because it makes me feel a lot older. Kind of like when we were talking about our kids meeting in first grade and now they're in college. I was like, what just happened? But
I
it
know.
happens. But now we're old and stuff like that. So I've always dreamt.
Old.
I'm old.
Old. No, you're not.
Well, I'm older than you, but that's
You're
okay.
not old.
So I've always dreamt about doing my own thing, trying to implement dreams and passions of whatever it is that I wanted to do. But I had the stability of the corporate job. I had the stability of a nice paycheck. I had a stability of bonuses and all that security. And after my mom passed, that's a big pivotal moment in my life, believe it or not. I thought really hard about what it is that I want to be. Who do I want to be? Who do I want to influence? And right now in the corporate world, I influence like my department and other executives and stuff like that. And that's great. But I had trouble finding true meaning, that balance between what can I be really good at? Where are my gifts? What do I love? What's my passion? And then where can I make money doing that? Because we do have to make money because this weight room doesn't pay for itself. So anyway, after much thought and consideration, we were on spring break this year, and I was frustrated with just the corporate world. And Shell said to me, "We can get through it. Let's whatever you want to do, we'll do." And I quit 2 days later, and my last day was the end of May. And I've been thinking real hard about how can I create like an enterprise, and I'm still creating it, but keep it feeling like it's a community business. How can I grow a business but still connected to the community? How can I grow a business but everybody feels like they're part of it? How can I grow a business and people know who I am and know that I'm authentic in the way that I want to interact with people because it's not fake? And that's where the energy comes from. And how can I serve? How can I serve people? Because my mom talked about her two mottos of God and love. Mine's always been serving and doing magic. I always like to do things with people, through people that people don't expect. And I'm like, well, let's just do it. Like, why can't we just do it? Let's just do a hog roast. My grandpa used to do it. Let's do it. And so let's do that. And so That's been my driver this whole time, is how can we take this community-based business and make it grow, make it be in other communities, and then adopt those communities. And then people feel like they're connected to that business. And if you think in the food industry, so we make a lot of brats in this company. I love it. Our brats are really good, Jen. I'm gonna have to ship
Yum.
some. Okay. No, they're good. We make
Yum,
31
yum.
different brats. As
Give me some.
my
Sounds good.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna send it to you.
Whoa,
It'll be good. So, but like Johnsonville brats, do you know who the
that's a lot
people
of
are
bread.
that run that company? Like Johnsonville, you don't know who they run. You don't know who the
No.
people are. I don't. But what if we
Somebody
can
named
grow a
Johnson,
business?
I guess. Yeah.
Well, Johnsonville's out of Wisconsin, you know. So Johnsonville, Wisconsin, it's a town.
Oh.
I've done a lot of research on these
Oh.
competitors. But what if I can grow a business
I
and
knew that.
I know you did. I don't doubt you one bit. But what if we can grow a business and we do it right?
Just
We do it through
didn't
people,
know
through
that.
connections and stuff. And so I know you didn't know that, but you're really adorable. I like that you admitted it too. But yeah, that's the dream. So I took faith that I've always worked real hard and have faith that we could do this as a family and people. So we took the leap. Yeah, it's been great.
Well,
You know,
and it's so good. So, one thing that we haven't talked about yet, Bob, but I think it would be fun for people to know is that, like you talked about the hog roast, you have your shack that you smoke all the meat in the back of your house. And ever since we have been friends, our family has been so blessed by all of this incredible food that you have prepared for us over the years. And you have such a passion for it. So I love that this business that you've acquired, it's like taking all your passions, it's like you
it's
talk about your
amazing.
skills
Oh
and your
yeah.
gifts. It's
Oh, it's
amazing
amazing.
that this is where you
It's
ended
so fun.
up because
I love it. I love
it's
it.
something you love.
And some of my
Yeah,
favorite
I
things,
love it.
I'm here in the office. I'm here in the office doing work, trying to get ready for whatever growth and stuff like that. But when I'm in the plant and I'm at the retail store, I love talking to the community. I love when people come in and ask them what they're buying and how they're going to cook it and how they're going to prepare it and just having a discussion. I learn a lot. It's fun. I love it.
That's
I'm
so
sad I have
great.
not
That's
done
so
this
great.
before.
Well, you know what? You're doing it now. And,
I
the
guess
fact
so.
that you can even say that, the fact that you can say that you had this vision and this dream and you are doing it.
Yeah,
So, the
we're
fact that you've
doing it
done
as
it
a
at
family.
all. So, what about somebody who's listening right now that's thinking, hey, I have a dream. I want to pursue this dream. What do you want to say to them?
So this dream was many, many, many years in the making. So it's not like oh, you know what? I'm gonna do this, and this is the flavor of the month. It's something that I had to take a hard look on what my gifts are and what my passions are. And so if you blend what your gifts are and what your passions are, and then you can make money at it, then that's like the ideal combination. So it's taken many, many years of thinking to figure out that this is the direction that I thought would work in those three circles. Without those three circles, if you just go with a passion, what if you're not good at it? What if you just go with
Mhm.
what you're good at? Well, you may not like it. Or what if you go with those two things, but it's not financially supports your lifestyle? Then there's going to be tugs that's not working. And so the center of that, we're getting back to finding Jesus. The center of those three intersections is that's where I landed. And so for people who are interested, I think they need to take a hard look on all three of those things, and pray on it.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, I love how you've talked a lot about the gifts we have, right? Because we all have gifts that the Lord has given us. We all have unique talents, things that are ours and ours alone. And I think it's just really encouraging to hear you talk about that, just for people to take the time, like figure out what your gifts are. And that's not a prideful thing. That's not something like, oh, I'm good at this. No, we do all have gifts, and it's good to know what those gifts are that God has given you because he's given them to you for a purpose, right? So
Mhm.
we bless people when we live into those gifts, and you are blessing people by living into those gifts. But I love that those things have to all be like each
They
in
have
their
to.
own. It may not work so well. You need it
Yep. And
all of those things.
it, and that's how I've always led in all the work that I've always done, though, from the gift perspective. If we want to drill down in gifts a little bit, I've always felt like I wasn't the smartest person in the room, and that it takes different people with different backgrounds and different gifts to make the team very strong. And I think that's true with even this new business that we bought and where we're going. It's just leveraging everybody's gifts. And if they leverage the gifts and they have passion in what they do, and then I can incentivize them by paying them when they like that, man, the
Yeah.
sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for the team. And so it took a long time to figure out what that is. And I think I found the balance. So that's why when I say I mean me and my wife and family, because it's a family affair when you jump off on your own. I'm gone 2 to 3 days a week and I'm working
Yeah.
12-hour days a lot. But if you love it, then it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, that's so true. How has that transition been? Because that's a big
Yeah.
deal, right? That you're, like
Yeah.
you said, now you're gone multiple days a week. And
Well,
I'm
it's hard for
guessing
my
it's just,
family. The timing
yeah.
is actually terrible. Like, hey, I got an idea. Why don't our oldest daughter get married? We send our middle child to college. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to start driving back and forth 3.5 hours away, 2 to 3 days a week. And during deer season, it might be 5 days. So that's the perfect
Oh.
time to go down this venture. So you can imagine the stress it puts on the family unit. It's hard for everybody, but at the end, I think everybody knows that this is a passion of mine, and they're very supportive. And so I'm very blessed to
Yeah.
have them all in my life.
Well, and sometimes the timing doesn't always make sense, right? I mean, I can think of things in
I
my
don't know if
life
there's
like,
ever good
really, Lord,
timing.
like now? Exactly. Like there will
Yeah,
always be something
I
that
know.
can get in the way. So sometimes you just have to close your eyes, hold your nose, jump in the water, and just trust that you're
Exactly.
jumping at the right time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe God throws us in the water too. Like,
Oh,
like here,
that's
you
true.
need to get in there. And you won't have time to hold your nose and say, good luck. Let's see you swim. You can do it.
No,
I have faith in you.
that's true. And then you just start
Will you
swimming.
aren't you doing that right now with your podcast? You're pushing yourself
Yeah.
outside your comfort zone.
100%. In fact, this week for me has been a really big week. I have a website that I needed to be taken
What?
care of. And so, yeah, I like
Is it up and
learned
running?
how to
Can I look
do
at it?
I learned how to do all this stuff. It's Jen
Oh, you're a
Thompson
techie person. Oh,
author.com.
with
And
author?
so Jen Thompson author.com. And so I don't know, like between learning how to do that and then learning how to do this, like I definitely feel like I've been thrown in and I'm learning all these different things, but it's fun. It's exactly what you said before. I believe and hope I'm using my gifts, and these are things I'm passionate about. And so it and hopefully money will come.
I hope so too. But by the way,
We're
your
gonna hope for
website
that
looks
third.
great.
Oh, are you looking
Hey, you just
at it?
put, oh, look at the pictures of you. These are great. Jen, can you write my website? This is
I
really
will,
good.
Bob.
I
Thank
I feel like you're
you.
famous. I know you. How do I?
No,
Well,
I'm not famous, but I love that you said
I
that.
know
Oh,
this
that's so
person.
great. Oh, you're so sweet. So here, Bob, I have another question for you before we wrap up
Go
here.
ahead.
So,
Okay.
what about the person? Okay, because we were talking about passion, like gifts, and then we have to also talked about like passions. What about the person who's like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. I don't know if I have any gifts. What would you say to that person that's hearing this and is like, that's great for you, but I mean, I don't
So
even
this
know.
is where I think God blessed us with community. Like back in the day, you think about community before we had everything automated and fast food and stuff. Some people were farmers, other people were hunters, other people made meals, other people built houses. So everybody had what they did, and the community was really strong together. And God did that for a reason. He didn't want us to be alone. And so I
Mhm.
think for the person who doesn't know, doesn't look internally and can't figure out what they're passionate about or what their gifts are, this is where your community comes in. They could tell you, and you should talk to your friends, your family, people you love, people that you respect their opinion, and have an honest look. It's not about criticizing what you're not good at. It's about what you are good at and what they see your passion is. My passion, we talked about food, but it's also serving people. Like
Yeah.
part of the food is because I get to make people like love something that I created and it's serving them. And that's what I love to do. And so I think that's something that if you don't know, ask people. Jen, I know you. I could tell you what your gifts are and what your passions are. And so I think others could do the same thing. So I
Yeah.
think
And that
community
takes
strong.
absolutely. And that takes a bravery, right? Like to be able to come out and be like, hey, I just need to know what you what you see in me. But that's such a good, important thing to ask. I love that you said that you can go to the people that know you best. And we want to
They
encourage
know.
each other, right? If you came up to
Hmm.
me and you're like, "Hey, what are my gifts and talents?" I'd be like, "Yes, I want to tell you this because you're
Yeah.
my friend and our friends want to pour into us." So,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, that's just good. That's a good word there for people that are unsure.
Now your friends will have to be honest. Like if I try to persuade you in what my gifts are, like if I said, Jen, you know what? I'm going to drop everything. I'm going to be a country singer. You're going to be like, well,
Okay, mom.
oh, good luck with that one. Do you need a place to stay? Because you're going to be poor. So, friend, like you should let the friends have like a whiteboard, so without trying to influence them. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We can't be like, "Hey, Bob, do you think I'm really good at being on time?"
Oh yeah, no, no. I'm actually surprised this started at 11:30 at one time. I showed up 15 minutes early. I'm going, well, we'll see if she joins.
You did, but there I was. I think I was, like, maybe a minute early.
I think you were early. I was impressed, actually. You know
Wow,
why?
thanks, Bob,
Because
thanks.
because
Right.
you're passionate about this project.
That's the truth. That is the
So
truth.
you're ready
That
to
makes
go. So yep.
that's so true. So, Bob, in this season that you are in, how does grace intertwine? Because we're talking about grace too. So let's talk about grace in this entrepreneur leap of faith season that you're in. How has grace played out? What's the role?
Well, when you take a leap of faith, you are going to make mistakes. And it's easy to be upset with yourself when you make mistakes. And other loved ones of yours are going to be nervous during this because
Hmm.
you're not the only one taking a leap of faith. Everybody's taking a leap of faith. Hopefully, your plans look good and hopefully you're doing the right things and you're being smart about it, but you're going to make mistakes. I've already made mistakes. I broke some of my machinery on accident because I'm an idiot. That's just how
Oh
it is.
no.
So we're not going to talk about that. And evidently, I don't have strong Wi-Fi down here, but that's a whole different issue. So we're going to make mistakes. So I think where grace comes in, if you focus on those mistakes, or let's just say, like from God's perspective, if you focus on your sin, then you can't get over your sin. You can't get over
Hmm.
your mistakes. All you're doing is focusing on the things that you will not help you move forward. So God gave us grace so we don't have to focus on our sins, so we can focus on Him and doing the things that He wants us to do through our gifts, right? So I think
Hmm.
that's true as an entrepreneur. If we focus on our mistakes, then I won't be able to drive this business forward because all I'm focusing on the fact that I made this mistake. Or I could say, that sucked. Let me refigure out what I'm going to do and move forward. And so I think both what God does and what we do to ourselves are exactly the same meaning. If we focus on the wrong things, sin or our mistakes, then we can't move beyond those and we're just in them. And so that's what grace means to me. Like it's really about looking forward and not backward.
Yeah, so it propels you. It keeps you
It
moving.
does propel me. It does. Yeah, and
That's
I admit it. Like I admit when I make mistakes, and people when they hear you, especially when you're in a leadership role, like this entrepreneurial role, when you admit that you made mistakes or you take the blame for stuff, and then see that you're still pretty light and moving forward, I think it motivates folks to feel the same way.
yeah, well, and that builds community, I would imagine.
It
Because like you
does.
said,
It
when you're in a
does.
leadership role, if you are humbling yourself to say I'm sorry, then that goes back to building that community like you were talking
It
about.
does. How many times have you apologized to your kids? A lot.
Oh, all the time. All the
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Because we really don't know what we're doing, Jen.
No, they can never
There's no
know
books for this that can work because they're all different.
that. No, it's so
You know.
oh, even last night we did this really fun tradition. It's our second year we go with my sister and her family, and we get this giant 15-person van that we borrow from some friends of ours.
What?
And we drive around and we look at lights, and it's so great. But there were a couple times, they're teenagers now. It's a van full of teenagers. So they're
Yeah.
like being super loud and on their phones and all these things. And we're still having the best time. But there were a couple times like I didn't yell. I was just like, guys, can we focus on the lights?
I
But for
know.
some reason, they were just insistent that I was like mad the whole time. I'm like, I wasn't mad the whole time. I had the best time. I just need you to chill out a little bit. So I feel like I have to talk to them about that today. Like, why did you think I was mad?
Oh
What
yeah.
let's
Well, you were probably
and
frustrated, but guess what? It's okay to be frustrated. That's just how life is, right? Like, you're going to have
yeah.
all the emotions. and you were having this expectation. Oh, this is true with life too. You like this is true in business. So this is all related. You have this expectation of how it's going to turn out, and it doesn't turn out the way you want. So it's
Right.
natural to feel that, but how you move forward from that is what's important, I think. So saying you're sorry that they felt that way, that they were probably nervous that you were mad at them then, and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
By the way, for
owning
those
it
that
and
those
being
that phone, those that are watching, that curious what Jen looks like when she's mad, it's exactly what you expect. She's got a smile on her face, and she's like, and then she smiles. Like Jen's angry is pretty cute.
I don't think my kids would say that.
Maybe not, but
No,
but it's been
maybe
fun for me to watch.
not. I love it. Well, Bob, this has been an absolute joy. Um, as I said
This is
before, your
fun.
family is so dear to us. I just really appreciate you taking the time to help me get this podcast going. I mean, you helped me like figure out the equipment and all the things. So I'm so grateful for that. And just the inspiration that you are. And I'm confident that the people listening have been inspired by you. So, is there anything that you want to say in closing to anybody that's listening?
No, I think we said most things. I'm really excited about this opportunity to talk to you. I love having these type of conversations. I love talking about faith. I love talking about what inspires you. I just have a lot of faith in what we can do as people, and how we get back to our center or finding Jesus. I think the topic is fantastic. So Jen. I'm just very happy that I got to be part of this. And if it helps one person and the other 99% thinks I'm an idiot, then I help one person, and that's great. So very good.
Amen. I love it. That's the way we have to move forward with everything, right? I'm sure it was
Yep.
more than one person, but I love that philosophy, that mindset. That's what I tell myself in my writing too. I'm like,
Oh, good.
just one person needed to hear this. So, Bob, how can people find you? How can they find your? I know your meats. Do they shipped? Can they be shipped to
So
people?
in February, we're going to be launching an e-commerce website. Okay. So you won't be able to order steaks through us yet because we're not federally governed over that part of it yet. But a lot of our
Okay.
brats, our jerky, our sticks, our sauces, um, our bacon's great. Like I love our bacon. So a lot of those things like that, we'll be able to ship that coming in February. And so we're working really hard to get everything branded and get ready to launch in February. But the fun way to find me is go to Facebook and look up Jones Meat and Locker. I post all the time, and 90% of it is about community. And so you'll get to know
Yay.
the story of the people there in Jacksonville, Illinois, and the story of the Jones family. And so I think it's been a lot of fun writing on Facebook just to feel that connection. So that's an easy way. So go to Facebook, Jones Meat and Locker, and then you'll get all the news you need about what's going on.
Awesome. Well, everyone be sure to follow Bob and Jones Meat and Locker. And Bob, thank you again for the inspirational conversation. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until next week. Tuning in to this week's episode of the Return to Jesus podcast. I had the best time talking with my friend Bob Stanton, and I am sure you have left listening to the conversation feeling inspired and encouraged. I know I definitely felt that way after talking with him. I am so excited to announce that next week's guest is going to be my husband, Patrick Thompson. I have encouraged him to come on to the podcast and talk with me, and we're going to talk about all things grace, marriage, and family, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to sharing that conversation with you next week, so be sure to tune in. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I really and truly appreciate it. If you would like to find out more about what's happening in my world with my writings and with my book, Return to Jesus, you can find all of that information on my website, jenthompsonauthor.com. I also have my blog, trulyyoursjen.com. And you can find me on social, on Facebook at trulyyoursjen, Jen Thompson Author, and on Instagram and Threads at trulyyoursjen. Thanks again so much, friends. It's an honor to talk with you, and I'm just so grateful for you, and I hope you have the very best week, finding the rhythms and the practices that work for you in whatever season you find yourself in. Know you are loved. Know there is grace to cover everything, and just know that The Lord is with you, and He loves you always. Thanks, friends. Until next week.